Last year, my Switch Lite died, and I had to get a new one. I've been putting off restarting the games that I didn't have cloud saves for. This mainly includes Animal Crossing and the Pokemon games. Then the last few weeks, I got back into shiny hunting, and it prompted me to think about the state of my living dex and Pokemon Home. I started shiny hunting back in Gen 6 when they made it easier. I jumped on the hype and did a lot of Friend Safari and fishing method. This is when I found out about the shiny charm, and crafted my ongoing living dex all the way back in 2013. I'm still missing some mythicals, and I got pretty lazy in Gen 8, but it's enough to get me the shiny charm. Because of how long ago I started my living dex, there are a lot of old Pokemon with old trainer aliases that I just don't use or vibe with anymore. I definitely want to keep my old Pokemon around. They've been with me for so long, I can't just get rid of them. But my living dex itself would be a bit more consolidated, and without 10 different variations of an old username that's not even me anymore. I get that this trainer name thing for my living dex is like super personal to me, but I felt like I needed to explain where my reasoning for making a new living dex even came from. From Gen 6 onwards, I would pretty much import my living dex as soon as I could. There was never a problem prior to Gen 9 because the games have always been linear. You always go from one point to the next and see all the towns and routes as the story progresses. But with Scarlet and Violet, the ability to go almost anywhere once they set you free from school means there's so much to miss if you're not actively exploring. This is what happened to me playing Scarlet the first time. I rushed through the game, only going where necessary. I knew once I finished the main story I could just import my living dex and get the shiny charm immediately, and didn't actually explore the open world. After I decided that I wanted to rebuild my living dex, I thought it would be best to start in Scarlet. The base Pokédex, as well as the 2 DLC Pokédexes, would make up the bulk, and I would pick up from other games as I needed. I started my new file on Pokemon Scarlet, and since I was starting from scratch, I could pay attention to Paldea this time. My plan was to just catch every Pokemon as I came across them so I would have to do the least amount of backtracking later, and see how far that got me with the Pokédex by the end of the game. I was eager to shiny hunt, but the new living dex had to take priority. And well, it turns out I didn't even need the shiny charm. I have like 5 shiny Starlies, but I'll take another. Isn't it so weird how when you're shiny hunting you think, I probably won't even notice if I miss a shiny because the color difference is so subtle. But then a shiny appears and your eyeballs are laser guided to it. Anyway, despite Scarlet's graphical issues and lack of level scaling in an open world game, which I know they can do because they did it in Kitakami, I had a lot of fun ending up in the nooks and crannies I'd never touched before. I battled all the trainers I came across while I was actually at level for the area since I wasn't just following the path from badge to badge. I loved hearing the little notification for the rewards of my Pokédex progress. I don't even know if I'd ever actually climbed this mountain by the paths. I think I was always so impatient that I just went straight up and over by climbing with Koraidon. This mountain is huge, and I just never explored it. By the end credits, I had caught about 3/4 of the Paldea Pokédex, which I think is pretty good. I looked through and I'm pretty much just missing the starters, a couple final evolutions that I missed, version exclusives, and legendaries. I was even shiny hunting brained about exploring sometimes. Not me getting jump scared by this Toxel in a group of Murkrows. I'd run around in outbreaks, Sandwich and Herba Mysticalis, and although some were busts, others I had pretty good luck. Like this Seenie outbreak where I ended up finding 3. Or I would go to an area I knew I could cheese with a counter power 2, just to see if I could get 1 or 2 little guys. It worked! I liked exploring, but I also wanted that sweet gratification of finding a shiny Pokemon. The shiny charm would be nice, but honestly sometimes I would just take a little break from badges to detour to an outbreak that sounded interesting, and I would get a shiny or 2 out of it. This sounds crazy to my own ears, like, wait, you want me to full odd shiny hunt in this economy? Listen, I have this Nintendo DS save file going on for like 5 years now, soft resetting on and off for a shiny starter in Pokemon White. I have nothing at all against full odds and I wish I could do it more, but my particular brand of ADHD needs gratification a little quicker than 1 in 8,000. I'm taking my time filling up the last of my dex entries, egg-hatching starters, and evolving some of the weirder Pokemon like Finizen and Primeape. Since I wanted to unlock Blueberry Academy's item printer, I've started the Teal Mask, and I definitely never actually explored Kitakami, so I'm really looking forward to completing that Pokedex too. And look, I'm not trying to say you have to catch them all the old-fashioned way every single time, but maybe if the next mainline Pokemon game is open world again, consider putting a pause on importing your living dex. If you don't really care about exploration and just want the Pokedex to be completed, that's totally valid too. But if you have a living dex and found Scarlet was somehow lacking depth, you might be in the same boat as me. If you had a similar experience with the game, feel free to share in the comments. Since I've gotten back into shiny hunting, I'll probably have some more videos about it soon.